Hello, my name is Alex Sars, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about sunken featured buildings, the workshops of the Anglo-Saxons. Welcome back. So when I'm talking about sunken featured buildings, I've actually talked about this on the channel before. I called it Grubenhauser, and it was a part of the Bambra series. So if you want to go and look at the Bambra series, you'll see this episode. But this is to really update and to replace that previous episode. Now, I was doing an interview, and the chap who I was speaking to, his information was quite out of date, which isn't his fault. Sometimes people just get caught up and they don't get times to read new information or anything like that. But when I was speaking to him, he suggested that the sunken feature buildings, which in the past have been called Grubenhauser, were actually housing for people. And I want to talk about that today. Now, to start off with, the study of sunken featured buildings starts off with an archaeologist called Leeds, who in 1936 actually found a sunken featured building for the first time. Now, this was for him true proof of the end of civilization after Rome, because what he found was, obviously, you've got the great stone-built structures of Roman Britain. Wherever you go, you find them. They can be ladder settlements, they can be villas, they can be towns, but you have the stone-built structures. And then he found a sunken featured building, and what it is basically you dig into the ground, and they're either normally 4 meters by 2 meters or 3 by 2 meters, or the largest can be 6 by 4 meters. But you dug into the ground, and you probably dig down anywhere between 2 feet to up to 4 to 5 feet deep, depending on what you're using it for. When you dig into the ground, you've then got a rectangular pit, and you have steps leading into it as well. And when you have your rectangular pit, you then build almost like a teepee structure over the top with wood. So you have posts in the ground that then give you a raised area off the ground, almost like a hall, and then you put a triangular roof on top. And then that provides you with your structure that you can then work within. Leeds discovered one of these, and when he discovered it, he was excavating it. He obviously found where the posts had been, all of that. And as he was digging through, he found 2 human bodies. Now, when he found these human bodies, he said, well, it shows that these people were absolutely barbaric. They were living in the ground, and they were so happy to live within these muddy, sunken, damp-featured buildings. And when they were living here, they were so barbaric, they didn't even care about the corpses of their, of other human beings sticking out of the walls. And, he just was absolutely disgusted by it, and basically was like, this just proves that the whole of society fell apart after Roman Britain. Now, he actually hadn't really looked at the stratigraphy and been able to understand what was going on here. And it's a really interesting one, because what he was actually looking at was a fact that this sunken featured building had been built, had been used, then it had been filled in, and then a burial had then been inserted into it at a later point. So these burials weren't contemporary with the use of the building, they were later burials added. And so he thought that the people in the early medieval period were more than happy to have like corpses of dead people sticking through the walls of their houses, but it's not the case at all. And then from there's been further reassessment of sunken featured buildings, especially people like Hamerow and others who've really looked at them. And now the belief about these buildings is that they're actually workshops. And when they're workshops, some of them have different purposes. So it could be that some of them have wooden floors above the under area, and the under area is either just to basically keep the surface off the damp ground, and it creates a bit of dampness in the room that some people theorize are really good with certain types of textile production, or it could be that they had the floor right on the bottom. Some people have found that when they're excavating them, they almost have like a section that is dug into the ground, and then you have an area with a wooden bench along, which would have boxes and things like that along the sides, and then on the top you would have your roof. And what they find is that they're basically used as workshops, especially for textile productions. And when they have textile productions, you find loom weights inside, which is you'd have your loom, you have your threads hanging down, and you tie a number of threads onto a weight so that there is a tautness, a pulling down and a weight on them, so that you're able to weave through them and create fabrics and textiles. So that they would basically be workshops where you'd have on the side of the wall, you'd have these boxes which would contain all the loom weights, and you'd get the right ones out with the right weight to basically work on your loom. Now, what you also find in these buildings is sometimes you find a lot of items that are associated with women. So you find beads, you sometimes find brooches, things like that that are associated with female clothing or female items. And so it could be that these buildings were utilized by women to basically produce textiles within them. Others have evidence of food storage, so you find things like barley, you find things like grain, things like that inside the building, and it could be a storeroom where you have a wooden floor and it's basically where you're storing all your food, so it could be a barn of some form. But no matter what they are really interesting because at the end of their life, the building starts to become more dilapidated. And I've mentioned in a previous episode that I'm currently teaching at Jarrah Hall, and they have a Grubenhauser sunken featured building that has been damaged over time. And as it's been damaged, it's now no longer in use. You can almost imagine how a sunken featured building could actually become damaged. And then when it becomes damaged, it's no longer usable, or maybe it becomes so old that it starts to collapse or something like that. So you take out the posts, you take off the roof, and then you just have a pit in the ground. And what they find is that they will just take all the rubbish within the local area and you just chuck it into the pit because you've got a ready-made dump, a rubbish dump or a garbage tip. And so you take all of your waste, you throw it in there and it fills up. And then finally, when it's full, you just put a little bit of soil over the top and it's gone. And so when they're excavated, you find things like broken spindle walls, broken knives, little items that have basically just been caught up in the rubbish for where you've been cleaning out your house and you just chuck it into the pit and it's done. And what you do is you move slightly further down the road, dig a new pit, and you have a new workshop, a new place to work in. And so I absolutely love that. These buildings were really flexible. You just needed them for the purpose, the time they were there. And so you might just use it for a few years, then fill it in. Or you might continuously use it. You might refurbish it. You might go out of use, move somewhere else for a bit, then come back, redig it, relay the wood inside, and then go back to using it again. But we can just discover so much about these buildings and about the crafts that are going within them, because obviously textiles are really important in this period. When they're important, you've got to imagine that everyone needs to be clothed. So you've got to have, wool or linen that people are wearing. Alongside this as well, the possibility that buildings are covered in textiles. So you've got tapestries on the inside, things like that. It's really interesting to think what could be produced inside of these sunken featured buildings. To finally conclude, you notice that sometimes I've used the word Grubenhaus and sometimes I've used sunken featured building. Well, that's because I'm getting used to it, because ultimately sunken featured building is now the popular term, because Grubenhauser has basically been used in the past to show how the Anglo-Saxons were, Germanic and things like that. But what if this was a technology that was basically adopted from the cultures who were moving into Britain, the people who migrated into the British Isles after the end of Roman Britain, but it's used by all of the different groups who are living in the area that now is understood to be called, England. And so when they're using it, it's important that these buildings don't suddenly get an ethnic name attached to them. Now, they are a part of what we would understand as Anglo-Saxon culture, Anglo-Saxon England, but now the sunken featured building is a lot more popular as a term rather than Grubenhauser. So it's the one that I am trying to use more often. So what do you think? If you go down to the comment section, tell me how you would possibly use a shed like this. How would you use a Grubenhauser? Do you think they are for storage? Do you think that they are textile places? They're really interesting buildings. And obviously, as I mentioned, you do get proportionally more items that are considered to be female items within them as well. If you have enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe, share the video with your friends, and alongside that as well, if you would also like to support me further, I do have a Ko-fi account and a Patreon down in the description as well, where you can basically find those details, and I'm able to therefore put aside time, ring fence it to make these videos for you and share more about history with you, and that's something that I absolutely love. So thank you if you do support me with that. Finally, I look forward to seeing you in another video in the near future, and in the meantime, stay safe and well. Thank you very much.